Okay, so yesterday I received an influx of messages, and still today, still this morning, about a story that came out on the news on an astrologer, somebody who's in the spiritual community who passed away. Very tragic story. Not going into the specifics of that story, but I wanted to kind of talk about, the subject matter and everything that has to do with propaganda against anyone involved in astrology, tarot, Reiki, crystal healing, anything that's outside of like Christian belief system. Because when it comes to the story, although the details, because I really didn't go too deep into the details surrounding it, there's this storyline that people have in their head that because this person was involved with things that has to do with astrology and tarot and whatever it is that she did. I actually just became familiar with her yesterday. I didn't even know who this person was, but apparently they have a very big following. And so anyway, so because she was involved in that's somehow connected to her actions. And I did want to talk about, though, a few things in regards to that, because there's this idea whenever it comes to things like astrology and tarot and everything that I just mentioned outside of these Christian belief system, that people who are involved in it are evil or witches, or it's witchcraft, or it's demonic or whatever, because one, people don't actually have an idea, and this propaganda behind it has been so deep that it's hard for a lot of people to come out of that belief system, and it's going to take a while or some kind of true awakening for people to really, understand what all this is. But I did want to say that, the way that these stories are being written, that if anyone is involved in any kind of, you know, what we're doing, that somehow that connects and somehow that relates, and now you must stay away from it. And I've seen so many comments about from people being like, see, that's why we said the girls who are into those kind of things, you should stay away from them, and that's why we don't get into that, and that's why it's demonic. And it's so frustrating. And there's no like me trying to convince those people, but I did want to talk about, though, because I did see some comments from people who I do follow who maybe knew her or had some type of interaction, where a few people were commenting, first she started off like this and then she kind of went off the deep end. And I wanted to, talk about what some people are saying is maybe a connection to spiritual psychosis, possibly also, that she had postpartum depression, something like that. I don't know. I don't have any children. I don't know anything about that. But what I do know is the topic of spiritual psychosis, and how the more that you become aware of things, and that's why I tell people this is not for everyone, meaning not that, we're here like, and or me, in here doing some weird ritualistic things or anything like that, but when you become aware of patterns, when you become aware of numbers, when you become aware of just all of this stuff, you start to like dissociate and start to be like, what is this? Like, is this the matrix? Who created this? What is God? And you start to separate yourself from this 3D. And that's why it's so important. And I tell people it's so important to stay present. As much knowledge as we can gain, as much as you can see with things like a birth chart, with numerology and all that kind of stuff, there is still a need, because we are human beings, to stay physically present, to ground yourself, to take away that thought sometimes of, wanting to figure everything out and just be and just live and just, exist without thinking about those things, because you can end up in a state of mind to where you can't even bring yourself back down. I've seen people, get that way. I cannot say that I have not been in a situation where I'm just like, what is all of this? I have. But at the same time, I understand that I'm a human here to experience the human experience. And so that means just being present and staying grounded. What I mean by staying grounded is, of course, just having regular old conversations. Sometimes it is difficult for me to just listen to a conversation that a friend of mine is having, especially if I know their birth chart and I'm thinking of, well, it's because you have this here and this here and this here, and you start to think like that. but there's still the need to just be, to just listen, to just have fun, to just, take away that mindset and to remove for me, the astrologer part of what I do. But I did want to talk about that because, like I said, there are people who can get so out of body to where, especially online, you see, especially around the eclipse and people having this idea, especially with like you know, what I've seen, the Christians and people who are very deep in the church. And it's not just people who are in anything outside of Christianity, it's people who are also involved in their religion so deep to where they are so removed from the present that they don't even understand what's going on or what is real, what is not real. With the eclipse, people are like, it's the end of the world and you have to be saved and and the rapture's coming and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I went to go get a latte. Like I went to go get coffee. Like if you know me and you follow me on social media, I only speak on things that I know. And what I know is studying birth charts. What I know is how to read them and how to give my interpretation of them to people. I do not involve myself in tarot. I don't have any idea about what that is. I don't care to really look too into it. That's something totally different for a whole different group of people. I'm not somebody who is going to tell you, oh, do this ritual under this moon and under this. I don't do any of that stuff. So whenever you see stories like this, and I was kind of, there's a part of me that just wants to go off on people all the time because in my head I'm like, I have common sense, why don't you? If you see something like that, and especially if you know someone who's involved in that field or that realm, you know, why would you put in your head, well, it's evil or it's whatever? When you clearly see someone who does the exact same thing or is involved in the same, arena, and they don't act like that and they don't do those things and they, don't talk about XYZ. I was seeing some tweets that this person was posting. People were like bringing up old stuff and they were like, she's gone off the deep end and she's like, save yourself and the time is here and the time is now. Like I am just so like the Aquarius in me is so objective, is so logical. My entire birth chart is predominantly almost all fire and air. So I look at everything with a logical standpoint. What are the facts? I'm not drawn on emotion. I'm not out here like sensationalizing anything. I do believe in the power of things like crystals and whatnot. I've slept with some amethyst crystals by my bed, by my head, and it activated my dreams intensely. And I do believe in that. And one, let me comment on that real quick because people, and not to say that I haven't been here before, because I was growing up Catholic in the Catholic Church and we were told, don't look at that stuff and whatever. But when like, you just have to put two and two together. When it comes to things like crystals, where do they come from? Where do they come from? The earth. Who made the earth? God, the creator. Like, what is evil about that? Now, I understand that there are practices that people do and can do that, you know, can you can manipulate that energy and you can do a little bit darker things like that. But I'm just talking about the reality of, let's say, if somebody just has it in their home and there's no kind of like, I don't know, whatever, they just have them. Like, what is evil about that? What is negative about that? I don't know. I was just like, y'all, just common sense. Like this stuff is all around the world. It's rocks all around the world. People are finding things. What is so bad about it? I don't know. But anyway, so, talking about those kind of things and also understanding that like you have to use discernment when it comes to people. You watch people, like you're watching this video right now, you watch people to listen to what they're saying, but to develop this cult-like following, or to just believe everything that someone says. I tell people, do not that I'm saying I'm sitting here lying to people. What I'm saying is like, don't take everything I say as fact because what I'm telling people, especially when it comes to birth chart and birth chart interpretations, these are interpretations based on observation, based on what I've seen with other people, with patterns, but that does not mean that it is actually you. I don't know your experience. So with everything, especially everything I consume, I'll listen and then, okay, does that sound like it resonates? No, yes, okay, move on. But what I've seen people do, of course, they will gravitate towards people who have giant followings, assuming that because they have a giant following, they probably are factual about every single thing. We have to like let that part go. I would hate to have like a freaking cult-like following to where people just believe every single thing and they're just worshiping the ground that I walk on. It's like, no, guys, like I'm here to teach. And what I want to teach is people how to use their brain. People have forgotten how to use their brain. They are just relying on someone else's opinion, and I was trying to you know, kind of put it together of like, why are people wanting to know my thoughts on this story? Is it because they're just going to take whatever I say and go, or do they really want to use those facts or whatever I say and then kind of develop their own mindset? And so that's what I want to tell people whenever it comes to taking in information. There's no one right way of anything. There's no factual anything. And the only thing that you know is what you experience. The only thing that you know is what you can see with your own two eyes. So just to understand that, don't take words of people and assume that it is true. Every day we are being lied to. Every single day something is being manipulated. And I want people to use their brain. I don't know how many times I have to say that. Use your brain, people, and understand that these situations, one, are not like one off to where now we have to assume that everyone involved is going to be like this and whatever. I pulled up so many articles of pastors, people in the Christian community who are offing their families, their friends, and it has nothing to do with one specific thing. That is just somebody's mindset. You can be involved in church and be an awesome, amazing person. You can be somebody in church and be a terrible person. Somebody could be practicing astrology and be, again, an amazing person who does great things. And then there's other people who I've seen in this community, and sometimes I'm just like, why would you say that? Why would you do that? Why would you, tell people that, doom and gloom and negativity? And I'm somebody who is practical, and I live in reality, and I understand that this, experience is not always positive. But to get on here and announce just negativity, first of all, pessimism, like I can't do it. My Sag stellium is optimistic. I just believe in, especially the stuff that I've go through in life, like you're gonna make it out and it's gonna be just fine. It's a temporary, everything's temporary, and we're gonna get over it. So be aware, people, please, of who you are following, whose content you are consuming, and understand that everything that is put out in the media, especially when it goes viral, most of the time it's being manipulated for some reason. Look who wrote the article. One, that's another thing too. I went to see who wrote the first initial article that I saw, and I'm like, hmm, I'm pretty sure you're from a different background, a different belief system, and that's why this article was written this way. And so again, use discernment. Keep going. When you listen to something, keep going. Who wrote it? What else did they write? What is the pattern of the things that they put out? Look through their tweets, look through their posts. If you're somebody like me, my Scorpio rising wants to dig and dig and dig and dig for truth. The Aquarius wants to dig for truth. The Sagittarius wants to dig for truth and teach. Okay? And I want to teach people how to use their mind and use the gift that God gave you, which is discernment, which is intuition. Use it and understand. Like, don't allow people, one, to throw you off your rocking horse or whatever that saying is. Because of course I've gotten people being like, see, this is what I'm talking about. I'm like, okay. Like I'm just in a place where if it resonates, it resonates. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like I'm not here to convince you on anything. Um, and again, there are people who are involved in all types of industries who are terrible teachers, public school, cops, like it's just everywhere. Okay. So like let's just use our brains, y'all. So Anyways, I did want to, like I said, talk about, of course, the circumstance surrounding this story. Y'all can read it on your own. But to talk about also, again, learning how to stay grounded, especially when you are involved in learning things like, again, astrology, tarot, anything that has to do with outside of a standard belief system that we have here. So, live present, be present, stay grounded. Yes, it's awesome to know things and be aware and help people with the knowledge that you do, but also at the same time, no doom and gloom. Like we're not doing that here. We're not doing that. So what I do, and I will say this a million times because I know people are not going to watch every single one of my videos. What I do in this community is read and interpret birth charts. So people who go through things, especially when it's more like big life circumstances, career, love life, people going through divorce, people who want to find love, people who want to know about their sex life, people who want to know about when people pass, when you have children, am I going to have children? Family situations, beef, all of that, every single thing about your life and your circumstances can be seen through your birth chart. So that is what I do is I will tell you where that energy is coming from, how to navigate through it, why, if you are dealing with a situation for a few years, a few weeks, a few days, looking at transits, I don't predict things. I want to get that out of the way. I do not predict things. I've gotten a lot of, when am I going to find the love of my life? And when am I going to get a job? And when am I going to? I'll say it once and I will say it 1,000 times. Your life will play out the way that it is supposed to play out. The purpose of all of this and what I do is to help you understand where that is coming from. So if you are in a season where you're having a hard time finding a job, making some money, to understand how to navigate through that season, through that temporary moment. If you're in a situation where you've been single for a long time, I'm gonna help you how to navigate through. When I tell you I've been through every situation in life, like I think that is why God has put me through everything to be able to relate to people and tell them, this is how I got through it. This is how I dealt with it. So that is what I do when it comes to this. I do not tell you about rituals and remedies and worship the moon. I don't do any of that stuff. I look at your birth chart, I tell you what it means and the possible things that it means, and that's about it, and help you navigate through life circumstances, things that will happen that we all experience in this lifetime. Okay, so just wanted to get on here and say that I really appreciate y'all for, you know, supporting me and understanding. I'm here to teach, whether that is very direct and what people think is mean, or if it is done in a fun, lighthearted, comedic way. I'm gonna do it, y'all, because I really, really love this. I want to do this all the time, every single day. I want to talk to people about astrology every single day. I just think it's just changed my life for the better and help me understand people at their core, no matter what they do for a living, who they are, how they act. I just accept it all because I understand where it's all coming from. So, anyways, y'all, if you would like your birth chart interpreted, I said interpreted last time and I was like, that's not even a word. Interpreted, go ahead and hit me up on any social media platform, visit my website, and let's get it done because that is what I want to talk about.